You started your business because you're good at something, maybe really good. And then somewhere between week 2 and month 3, you realize you also had to become good at marketing. So you Googled it. And now you've got 15 browser tabs open, 3 people telling you to be on TikTok, a half-finished Canva post, and a growing suspicion that everyone else figured this out way before you did. They didn't, by the way. Most businesses are just louder, but they're still lost. Today, I want to talk about what actually matters when you're starting from zero. Not the full playbook or the ultimate marketing strategy, just a few things that are actually worth your time when you don't have much of it to spare. Because the gap between 0 and 1 isn't closed by doing more, it's closed by doing less. I'm June, and this is Antiviral, where we take a more human approach to marketing. So, marketing can be very overwhelming in very many ways. There are way too many options. There's too many things that you can do. And I usually tell people that nowadays anything can work, whether it's, the old school things like radio and TV and billboards to the modern things like ads and anything in between. All of it can work. And that causes a lot of issues because there's just so much that you could do. What do you pick? That's analysis paralysis right there. The other point about this is that each and every one of those things are also its own ecosystem. Think of social media or think of SEO as an example. All of them are very specific, unique ecosystems that you have to learn and figure out what you need to do for each and every one of these. And the more you add on, because everybody's opinion is always be everywhere all the time, you are putting your social media out there, you're putting your website out there, you're putting your SEO, you're trying to figure out ads, you're trying to figure out all these kinds of things together. And there is an almost infinite number of things that you can optimize in each and every one. There's always something that you can make better, right? Better graphics, better tools, better anything. And that again creates a lot of different versions of overwhelm where it's like, I don't even know where to begin. And when I begin something, I don't even know how long I have to be in it in order for it to start working. And as a business owner, you came into your business because you wanted to have a business. You wanted to work on your business. You didn't want to be a marketer. You just kind of ended up with it. And now you have to do all of this work and figure out all of this thing just to get it going. And you're already wearing too many hats as a business owner. That's usually what we do. We're already running around, putting out fires all the time, everywhere. In the grand scheme of things, as I mentioned in my intro, this is going to be an overview of what to do when you go from 0 to 1, which is arguably the hardest part as an entrepreneur. How do you go from no clients to 1 client? And in this realm, and I should say that this is probably true everywhere, but in this realm in particular, the 2 things that matter for marketing is time or money. If you don't have the money to spend, then you have to spend your time. And if you don't have time to spend, then you have to spend your money. One of these things needs to happen, and you have to figure out, or you have to create a balance for what is happening with your business at any given time. When you're starting out, most of the time, most people don't have a lot of money to put in there, so they have to spend their time. And you have to think about, how do I want to spend my time wisely? Because I'm going to be wearing all these different hats, right? As the business owner, as the sales guy, as the financial advisor, and the marketer all in one. What is my best use for my time? And one of the greatest problems that I see people doing all the time in marketing is that they spend too much time trying to make things right. And by that, I mean perfect. Like just so. And I'm not entirely sure why, but they spend a lot of time crafting something in Canva or doing something, I don't know, making your website the best it can be, or spending that money to making things look pretty, or making things, all these kinds of things, because it feels like it's something you can control, I guess. And they're not spending their time doing what would most likely move the needle, if you will. And for me, I think that would most likely move the needle, the best use of your time at the start is learning how all of what you're trying to do works. Just as simple as that. Like if you are creating a website, how do you best create a website? Not just I'm going to build a website now and then we'll figure it out as things come, because again, that's what creates a lot of problems with SEO, with everything that is involved in a website. But like, what is the best way to create a website? Not just the tool that you want to use, but the way that you do it. Is there a strategy behind it? Is there a way to do it that, feels the best for you, etc.? And same with SEO. How does it work? What does it mean? Search engine optimization, these big words that you've probably never heard of outside of marketing. What is this? And how does it relate to me? Is this something that I actually want to be a part of? Is this something that I want to pay attention to right now? Because you're going to have too many things to pay attention to. And I typically suggest that you focus on your marketing on very few, very specific things that you think are going to be the differentiators for you. The things that you think this is what's going to bring clients in, at the start of your business. And pick one, maybe two of these things, whether it's social media or whether it's ads or whatever it is that you want, and focus on them. Learn about them, make them better over time. Try to improve on what it means and what it is to have this or to do this. And you'll probably start seeing more results through that than just trying to do everything that everybody on YouTube always says to do. And then you're doing all of these things very poorly, as opposed to a few things fairly well, because you're actually spending the time to do them properly. I think people usually try to be something they're not in their marketing as well. They treat their marketing as something completely separate. Like in person, they're the nicest people. They, make people laugh. They're really outgoing, et cetera, et cetera. And then when it comes to online, and we probably talked about this before, but everybody stiffens up, right? Everybody wants to talk the same way, show up as the same professional kind of idea. And I think part of the reason what makes people spend a lot of time on marketing as well is also the fact that you don't start your marketing trying to be you. Instead, you're trying to become something else. And because you don't know what that other thing is, it takes way longer to try and figure out what would this professional version of me, or what would this professional, I don't know, corporate version of me would say here, or would create as an image here, or create as a video here. And it's not stuff that you would normally come up yourself, right? It's not ideas that come out of you naturally because you are you and you experience the world a certain way. You are trying to create ideas from this alter ego, this other pretend person outside of you. And that makes it really, really hard. How do you come up with ideas like that? How do you, talk that way? And that takes and burns a lot of time from entrepreneurs, I think. So choosing the right path, like choosing to focus on what is worth focusing on for you, the few marketing channels, I guess, that you want to focus on, and just dealing with that and trying to be you as much as possible is going to streamline the amount of time that you spend in your marketing. And I think the opposite of this idea that I have is that I see a lot of people that spend very, very little time creating the strategy behind it, or even just the creativity behind it, right? You want to just pick it up, do the marketing, and let it go so that you can go and figure out something else. So, automation, right, is something that a lot of people value, and creativity, which is arguably the most important part of marketing, which is the part of what to say, what is worth saying, and what is worth creating, if you will. You spend too little time with that. And it's important to learn the craft. It's important to learn the channel and how to make it better, right? As I mentioned before, through that, you should also spend enough time to craft the best idea that you can at that time. Because if you know everything there is to know about this channel, about social media, or about Google Ads as an example, and you spend as little time as possible actually with the writing of it, then your output if you will, for your marketing is going to be just as bad as people that don't know what they're doing, right? That have never put the time in learning how this works. So managing your time effectively, I think, comes down to figuring out how do you what is it that is worth focusing on for the little time that you have? And then spending the right amount of time, not only to make the marketing, but to think about the marketing, the creativity of it, the ideas. Is this the best idea that I can do? Is this idea something? And I usually tell people, does it get you excited? When you come up with an idea around marketing, it's like, oh, that is really good. I really want to do that, or I really, really like that. Then follow that, right? Because chances are that's probably going to be a better output, a better type of marketing. That is just something that you came up in the moment. And it's like, well, I guess we'll go with that. If it excites you to want to create it and put it out there in the world, chances are someone else out there is also going to be excited to receive it because it caused something in you, right? You felt something for it. So chances are there's another human being out there who's also going to like it. So choose a few things and forget the rest. Put blinders on when it comes to your marketing. And in order to figure out, because this is a very generalized episode, right? I don't know what your industry is, but when you're trying to figure out what are those channels that I should be focusing on, right? What is it that I should do and forget about the rest? Well, the questions that I usually ask is, well, where does your audience spend time? And what can you maintain consistently? Knowing where your audience spends time requires you to actually understand your audience. It's not just they are 35 to 45 and they live in X place. No, it's understanding their audience or your audience more deeply than that, meaning they are people that are technologically minded. They really like the latest and greatest technology. So chances are they're going to be in these specific groups or they're going to be in this specific like convention sort of thing. And that is where you start kind of figuring out what is it that I should be focusing on then, because that's where they're going to be. Instead of trying to target people individually, right? Figure out where your audience typically spends time. Where do they congregate usually? Right? And then figure out what to do from there. And the second one is what can you maintain consistently? Because, and this is a common thing in marketing, that consistency is the name of the game here. It's not about doing something once and having it go viral and then that's it. Your business is done. Everything is coming to you and you don't have to worry about it anymore. No, that's not how business works. That's not how life works, really. But it's what can you maintain consistently over a period of time, over and over again, as you keep improving it, as you keep making it better, then it's going to obviously get better, right? But if you don't have the time to maintain it consistently, this channel that you want to or are thinking of doing, then it's not going to go anywhere. I've seen a lot of people create like every single social media account in all the platforms as soon as they started. And then a year or two later, they're using maybe one, two, and then the rest are just kind of there, abandoned, and they're not doing anything with it, right? Or I've seen a lot of this as well, where they post maybe, I don't know, once every 6 months type of thing, because they just don't have the time. They get really busy, let's say during the summer season, and then it's only during the winter that they have time, so they put a post out there. And again, like your audience or this audience that you used to have has kind of already moved on, forgot about you. If you have nothing interesting to say, right? They've moved on to something else to look up or to follow other people. So what can you maintain consistently is also going to help you figure out what is worth your time, right? In my limited amount of time, what can I keep going over and over again? Is it writing? Do I like writing blogs as an example, right? If I'm someone that likes writing, which I do, but someone that likes writing, maybe I should take on blogging because that is a good enough channel and it allows me to do something that I can probably keep up all the time because I already do it as an example, right? Or I really like to do speaking. So maybe I start a podcast, or I really like drawing. So maybe I start social media and start putting my drawings out there or something like that, right? Just what is it that you can maintain consistently? And then another question that I typically ask is, what does your business need right now? Typically, when you first get started from 0 to 1, you're going to be saying yes to both of these things. But when I'm asking this question, I'm usually asking for one of two things, which is awareness or conversions, because those are two different ways of doing marketing. Awareness means, hey, I am here, I exist. You're not asking them to buy anything, right? It's just that I am here. I am in the conversation. I am part of this world. I exist. That's all awareness is. Whereas conversions, right, is about I need a client to actually give me money so that I can perform a service or give a product, right? Usually, people are always telling me both, but those two work in very different ways. You technically require different way of doing marketing for each of those. When you're doing awareness marketing, you just want to reach as many people as possible. It doesn't matter if they buy or don't buy. If they buy something, well, that's a bonus. But it's just anything. What are the places that have the most traffic, right? Or the most amount of my audience that I can just be there and be like, hey, here I am. That's all it needs to be. Whereas conversions, now you're talking about crafting a marketing journey that takes people from probably not knowing you, right, to I should buy this because this is worth my time. This is worth my attention. This is worth something for me. And that is a very different craft that you are doing. So you should be thinking about creating multiple of these things. Am I just looking for awareness right now, if you will? Then there are certain marketing channels that are better suited for that. Just here I am, here's what I do. Think of social media as an example, right? It's free and you can just post as much as you want, as many times as you want. And it's just about being there, awareness, right? That's not to say that you can't do conversion marketing in social media. I'm just stating that as an example, right? Whereas conversion marketing usually tends to lean more around advertising because it targets people that are ready or are looking for something right now, that are looking for something right there, that need this product or need this service. And then you're just trying to give them the right information so that they make that informed decision. And usually that informed decision is you are better than your competition in some form of way. Yeah, you are different, right? And the people that care about this difference are the ones that should come and buy from you. So think about what channels you're looking to have that handle this or the other. They could probably do both, but your marketing should signify and should have a line in the sand between one and the other. Are you doing awareness marketing right now or are you doing conversion marketing right now? You can't do both at the same time. It doesn't work that way. Another point that I usually like to explain to people is I get a lot of people telling me that they don't have time because they have opened all these social media posts, they have all this website SEO, they have all the ad, they're doing all the things. They just don't have the time. And I think there's a very big problem with that train of thought, with that line of thinking, right? That means that if you are busy, that means that something must be working, right? Like if I do a lot of things, one thing at some point is going to work. That just means that I am busy, hoping that that busy actually results into something. But busy is not a strategy. Busy, it's just that. It's busy. You can be busy doing something that provides nothing for you, right? And in certain circumstances, that's completely okay. And in the business circumstances, if you want to actually make money from something, being busy for the sake of being busy really doesn't do anything. Your marketing has more to do with do you have something worth saying, as we've talked about in a previous episode here. It's not about adding noise to the internet because busy can just be noise. You can just be adding things that make no difference in someone's life, that makes no original thought, right? Or original experience for people. And that's going to get you nowhere. The better idea is to think about, do you have something worth saying? What are the things that really make you different as a person or as a business? The things that you value. And that working on those things, again, being very specific about the channels that you choose, but working on those things is going to be a much better result. If you think you have something worth saying, like nobody talks about it this way, or everybody always does this thing, but really this is the problem for whatever it is that you're doing. right? Have something worth saying, and that is going to start making a difference in your marketing and start giving you ideas as to what is it that you should be picking as a marketing channel for you as well. I think the next thing that I want to talk about is potentially the thing that a lot of people or most small businesses really don't pay attention to, and that's reporting. That's looking at numbers, looking at data. And I've talked about how you should take a grain of salt with whenever you're looking at data because reports and numbers, right, are really good at compressing information in a way that you understand, but they're really good at compressing information, meaning that there's a lot that that number is doing that also doesn't get said, right? But it's a really important tool in marketing to understand, is this working? Now that you have kind of hopefully understood and have a clearer idea on how to select the proper marketing channel for you, how do I know whether this thing that I'm doing, the effort that I'm putting in my marketing is actually making a difference? And reporting is an easy way of doing it. And it's what most platforms, most tools have available. So that is kind of where we're going to focus on. But I want to make it clear about what are the things that matter to you as a business. Because again, similar to marketing having many, many things that you could do, there's also many, many numbers that you could report on that makes it equally as confusing as to what do these mean and what is it saying. So from a reporting standpoint, and this again, I'm talking in generalities right now, reportings are usually going to fall into three main numbers, which is impressions, clicks, and conversions. Impressions means how many people have seen your website or have seen your ad or have seen your post. The second one is clicks. That means how many people actually clicked on your post, on your website, on your ad to go and do something to, generate an action. Usually that is useful information because the impressions is just people seeing whatever it is that you're doing, and clicks is they actually perform some sort of action, right? So you can see the difference between those two numbers. You can see how well that is performing, right? That's kind of the idea. And from clicks, you have conversions. We've talked about conversions before. Conversions just means they have converted. They have filled out a form. They have called you. They have done something that has the criteria of becoming a client. Now, that's not true for every single thing. There are a lot of conversions that you could do that is just like, I want to see whether something is working. So my conversion is, did they actually land it where they wanted to land? Someone went where I wanted them to go or something like that. Sometimes conversions doesn't equate to the actions to become a client. But I would say 99% of the time, that's what it means. And these are almost universal. You're going to see it in Google Analytics. You're going to see it in your reports for your social media. You're going to see it in Google Ad reports. You're going to see it everywhere. But the number that actually really matters is conversions. All other numbers that you see in reports, right, that are being shown to you don't matter because from 0 to 1, all you're trying to do is get a client. That is the focus. That is the work. And more often than not, you're going to be in that place and you're going to be looking for that as consistently as possible. That is a number to look at. Every other number, similar to, what I was saying before, just put blinders on. Don't focus on them. They don't matter. You can learn about them if you want, but right now they don't matter. The only one that matters is conversions. And sometimes you see these numbers kind of displayed a little bit differently. Like I said, impressions sometimes is called reach. It basically equates to very similar things. You sometimes see like click-through rates or cost per click. All these things are, again, numbers that maybe we should go through them so that you have kind of an inkling or an idea as to what I mean. But in social media, you're going to have slightly different variations of the reporting. For example, on social media, you're going to have engagement as well, because on websites or on ads, there isn't really engagement, right? But on social media, there is. There's likes, there's comments and shares, that sort of thing. And that can sort of equate to people clicking, if you want to put it within those three categories that I mentioned before. But they perform some sort of action, right? But yeah, maybe let's go through a few more words that you typically see on reports. But like I said, the one that really matters is conversion. The other ones and the ones that I'm going to explain here are probably just for you to have as knowledge, not for you to actually do anything with right now. Let's talk about click-through rates, sometimes shortened into CTR. So a click-through rate is just how often are they going through and clicking to go somewhere, right? That is essentially the in-between of impressions and clicks. How many people saw your ad, right? Or your post or whatever, and how many people decided to click on it. And that difference, right? It gets converted into a number, it gets converted into a percentage, if you will. And then you'll know that in general, about, I don't know, 5% of people that see your ad end up clicking. And then you'll be able to start doing math and figuring out, okay, so if I want X number of clicks, then I need X number of impressions, because at 5%, doing the math, you'll be able to know that I need this many clicks, which means I need this much conversion. Hopefully I'm um, explaining this, as easily as possible. And you can do the same thing with conversions, between conversions and clicks as well, right? That click and then somebody converted also often is called the conversion rate, but that is the percentage at which somebody clicked and somebody converted, which is usually a lower amount as well. So you have, let's say, 5% click-through rate from impressions to clicks, and then you have a 5% conversion rate from clicks to conversion. And again, that allows you to do math that if I have a client, right, if I need 10 clients a month and my conversion rate is 5% and my click-through rate is 5%, doing the math of percentages, which I can't do right now on the fly, that is going to give you what are the numbers that you need to be at in order to attain that 10 clients a month, if you will. That is kind of the reason why those numbers exist. And they're useful numbers, like I said, but to start, just look at conversions, right? If you get one, then you're doing something. Because if you get one, chances are you can get another one. And that's just how you start. There is usually another one that is pretty popular, especially in the advertising world, but it's cost per click. And that would just means how much does a click cost for you, right? If you're usually spending money at this point for advertising, and that tells you that it costs a certain amount per click. And again, you can do math to figure out how much should I be spending in order to get this amount, right? In addition to conversion rates, all of these reports will change slightly based on what is the channel that you're looking at, right? So for emails, you're going to have things like open rates and bounce rates, right? And an open rate just means how many people opened that email, and a bounce rate just means that email went to their inbox and then it bounced off, essentially, right? Like it couldn't be put in their inbox, or it was blocked for some reason. If you go to Google Analytics as well, you're going to see, because Google Analytics is the thing that tracks what's happening in your website. You're going to see events. Events is just what are people doing on your website, and engagement time. This is usually a very interesting one. Because engagement time is how much time people spend on a page or on your website. And the longer people spend time on your website, right, that means that Google will actually see that and will rank you higher, or will, give you, higher rankings, because it sees that people are actually staying on your website for a long time. And by long time, I mean it could be like a minute long. Most people or most websites usually have like seconds in engagement time on average. But that just means that somebody actually, or the majority of people there, actually clicked on it on your website and then read something or stayed there for a while. And that is usually fairly good for a website. But yeah, at the end of the day, anything else around these things, like a lot of numbers in the marketing reports, are all just vanity metrics. It's just numbers for the sake of giving you numbers to either confuse you or to make it seem like something is happening when it's likely not. I usually don't understand why people go through great lengths to create reports that have like all the numbers possible, because who cares, right? At the end of the day, you're looking for, is this marketing channel, whether I'm spending time or I'm spending money on it, is this worth my resources, right? Time and money. If this is worth my resources, then I'm going to stick with it. And if it's not, then it's not, right? And any attempt at trying to hide how well it's doing is going to give you the wrong impression, or it's going to give you stay there for longer for something that you really should stop because this marketing channel clearly isn't working for you. And I think that leads me to the next thing is that now that we have, the right marketing channels and we have the right concept of like, what is it that we should be doing or what is it that I should be focusing on in order to figure out whether it is working or not, which primarily is going to be around conversions. Now, what do I do when it's not working? How do I know when to stop my marketing when it's not working? Is it not working for a period of time? Because there is a period of time of learning that you're going to have to figure things out. So, of course, it's not going to work. But how long is too long of a learning period where right now now it just doesn't work? Now it's just taking your time for no reason. And that can be for many, many reasons as to why a channel might not particularly work for you. For the most part, I would say that it varies. There is really no right answer or no easy answer for that. But I want to be very clear that you should be focusing on improvement, right? Whenever you start a new marketing channel, whenever you start your marketing for the first time, you're not going to know everything and there's going to be a lot of mistakes or a lot of things that you don't do well on at the start. And that's okay, right? You should be focused on improving, even if you get 0 results on everything. The idea is that next time you're going to get at least one. At least those numbers on the report need to go up a little bit in some way, shape, or form, because that is going to tell you that you are improving. But if after a fair amount of period of improving, which is going to be dependent on the channel, it's going to be dependent on you and the time that you have as well. I usually suggest people to think about having a kill switch. Whenever you are doing something for the first time, like marketing, and let's say you want to do a SEO, and that is going to be your focus for your marketing. Develop a kill switch as you are getting started. And a kill switch just means what are the things that when I hit this, right, these parameters, this is when it triggers and this is when I stop because it's clearly not working. And that can be any number of things. So it could be like, I didn't get enough clicks over a period of 6 months, or I've been doing this for a year and I haven't gotten one client from this. That can be a kill switch. It can be any number of things, but it's just those parameters that tell you, here is where I stop. Here's where I draw the line and where I move on to something else. Because it's very, very easy to start something and then you clearly see that it's not working, or you don't have the time to pay attention to it, and you don't have the time to make it better or whatever it is. But maybe one day you're gonna have the time, or maybe one day I'm gonna spend money on it and actually make it better. Or every once in a while, I'm going to be spending a little bit of money just to keep it alive, if you will. All of that is just going to take your time. It's going to take your money. It's going to burn resources for no reason. So it's better to have a kill switch for the new experiments. I usually call them experiments of what you're doing. And those experiments, if they start working, right, then you put them and then you categorize them as this is what I do in my marketing, right? I have started doing, let's say, public speaking, and that seems to be going really well. So now it's not an experiment anymore. Now it's a core thing of what I do in my marketing. And that's cool. Otherwise, you have the kill switch there. And when it hits that parameter, that's when you can make that decision of like, I said I would stop if I did this. Here's where I can say, I have done enough. I have tried it and I can't make it work at this point. And that's when you can move on and try something else. At the end of the day, I think going from 0 to 1 is the hardest thing you can do as an entrepreneur, is the hardest gap to close. Once you know how to bring in clients and how your business is bringing in clients, you can always find ways to do more. And that's where the growing starts happening of how fast or how often you can bring in a next client. But getting that first one is really, really hard and really, really stressful, because it's the thing that tells you whether your business is a business or it's a hobby. What I think gets you to that one person to that one client is picking one thing, saying something valuable to others, to those people, to that audience that you have, and showing up again tomorrow. Consistency. You don't have to be great at marketing today. Because think about it. How long did it take you for you to actually be good at whatever it is that you do for your business? It probably took years. You're probably an expert at something that you've done for like the last 10 years or whatever it is, right? Before you went out on your own. Or how long did it take for you to learn to play the guitar? It's not fast and it's not easy, but you're going to get there. Don't expect immediate results. Expect improvement. The point, I guess the overall point from going from 0 to 1 is to fail consistently until you learn how not to fail. I want to thank you guys very much for listening to this episode. And if you liked it, I hope you follow on Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever it is that you are listening from, and leave a review or email me. Tell me anything that you would want changed, anything that you would want improved, and how you want to receive this content. We are starting slowly, but we are going to get into the very specific contents like AI, SEO, advertising, all those sorts of things. But I want to get a good foundation of understanding marketing before we start moving into those types of topics. So yeah, let me know anything that you enjoyed or anything that you would like to improve, and I will see you in the next episode.